Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. If you like coin collecting or just want to learn about valuable coins, you're in the right place. Today, we'll talk about 5 rare and expensive US quarters. Some are old, and some are recent, so you might even find one in your pocket. Let's kick things off with a very special coin, the 1976 Bicentennial Quarter. This coin isn't just money, it's a little piece of American history. It was made to celebrate the 200th birthday of the United States, also called the Bicentennial. That's why it has a different design from the regular Washington quarters. The front of the coin still shows George Washington's face, like most quarters. But what really makes it stand out is the back. Instead of the usual eagle, the 1976 quarter shows a colonial drummer. There's also a torch surrounded by 13 stars, which represent the original 13 colonies. It's a bold and patriotic design that many people still admire today. Now, here's something interesting. The Bicentennial Quarter doesn't have the usual date on it. Instead of saying just 1976, the date says 1776 to 1976. That's because the coin was made to honor 200 years of American independence. These quarters were actually made during both 1975 and 1976, but none of them are dated 1975. That's why every single bicentennial quarter has the dual date. Most of these coins were made in very large numbers, so they are pretty common. In fact, over 1.6 billion bicentennial quarters were made. That means if you have one, it's probably only worth 25 cents, unless it's in really great condition or has an error. There are 3 main types of bicentennial quarters: no mint mark, Philadelphia. These were made in Philadelphia and do not have a mint mark. These are the most common. D mint mark, Denver. These were made in Denver and have a small D on the front of the coin. S mint mark, San Francisco. These were made for collectors and can come in special proof sets. Some are made from 40% silver, which makes them more valuable. If your bicentennial quarter is in circulated condition, meaning it has been used and shows signs of wear, it's likely only worth its face value. But if your coin looks brand new, with no scratches or wear, then it might be considered mint state or MS. Coins graded MS 65 or higher can sell for $100 to $400 or more. Now let's talk about errors, which are what really excite collectors. Sometimes, mistakes happen when coins are made. These minting errors can make a coin rare and valuable. One type of error is called a double die, where part of the design is doubled. This can happen on the front or back of the coin. A 1976 D quarter with a double die obverse, the front side, sold for a whopping $8,400 in 2023. That's a huge price for a 25-cent coin. Another valuable error is the clipped planchet, where a piece of the coin is missing because it was cut wrong. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is not lined up properly. These errors are easy to spot and can sell for hundreds of dollars depending on how rare they are. Some collectors also look for proof coins or coins that were made for special collector sets. These coins are usually shiny and have a mirror-like finish. The San Francisco Mint made a limited number of these proof quarters, and the silver versions are especially valuable. To find out if your bicentennial quarter is valuable, check for these things. Does it look brand new? Does it have any unusual marks, doubling, or missing parts? Does it have a mint mark, D or S? Is it made from silver? You can also weigh the coin. A regular copper-nickel quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but a 40% silver quarter weighs around 5.75 grams. A slight difference like that can mean big money. So, while most bicentennial quarters are common, a few rare ones can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. It's always worth checking your pocket change. You never know when you might find a valuable coin hiding in plain sight. Let's jump ahead to a more recent coin, the 2021 D Washington crossing the Delaware Quarter. This quarter was released by the U.S. Mint in 2021 and brings back a classic piece of American history. It shows George Washington leading his troops across the Delaware River during the Revolutionary War. This moment is one of the most famous scenes from America's fight for independence, and it's now captured on a quarter. The front of the coin still features a close-up portrait of George Washington, but it's a slightly different design than what we're used to. The reverse, or back, shows Washington standing boldly in a boat, holding a sword, with his soldiers rowing through icy waters. It's a dramatic and powerful image, and many collectors love the design for its historical meaning. Now, here's an important point: this coin is not part of the American Women Quarters program. That program started in 2022 with the Maya Angelou Quarter. Instead, the Washington crossing the Delaware Quarter was a transitional design released after the America the Beautiful series ended in 2021. It was only issued for 1 year before the American Women series began, which makes it a unique standalone design. The D Mint mark on this quarter means it was made at the Denver Mint. Over 1.1 billion of these quarters were produced, which means they are very common in everyday circulation. So if you have one that looks used or worn, it's probably only worth 25 cents. But here's where it gets exciting: uncirculated coins, especially those in high grades, can be worth more to collectors. For example, a 2021 D quarter that was graded MS69, which is nearly perfect, sold for $400 in 2024. That's a big return for a coin you could still find in your pocket change. The key to value with this coin is condition and errors. If your coin looks super clean and shiny, almost like it just came from the mint, it could be worth sending in for grading. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Now let's talk about errors, which are always a hot topic among collectors. Mistakes at the mint can turn a regular coin into something rare and valuable. One of the most wanted errors for this coin is the double die obverse. That means the front side of the coin, with Washington's face, shows doubling in the letters or numbers. It's not always easy to spot with the naked eye, but if you look closely with a magnifying glass, you might see parts of the wording appear to be stamped twice. This kind of error can be worth up to $300, depending on how strong the doubling is. Another valuable type of error is called a die chip. This happens when a piece of the die, the tool used to strike the coin, breaks off, leaving a raised bump or blob of metal somewhere on the coin. These aren't always worth a ton, but collectors love unique pieces, and values can range from $10 to $50 or more, depending on the size and location of the chip. There's also the misaligned die error, where one side of the coin is off-center. Sometimes you can even see part of the design from another coin overlapping. These unusual mistakes can increase the value significantly, especially if the error is easy to see. If you think you found one of these errors, don't spend the coin. Hold on to it and do a little research. You can even post photos in coin collecting forums to get help identifying it. So, while the 2021 D Washington crossing the Delaware Quarter is common in most cases, the rare high-grade and error versions are definitely worth checking for. A coin that looks ordinary at first might just be worth much more than 25 cents. Let's take a look at one of the most important and meaningful coins in recent U.S. history, the 2022 P. Maya Angelou Quarter. This coin isn't just a piece of money, it's a tribute to an inspiring American woman who made a powerful impact through her words, her strength, and her leadership. In 2022, the U.S. Mint launched the American Women Quarters program, a special series created to honor influential women in U.S. history. The first woman chosen for this series was Dr. Maya Angelou, a famous poet, author, and civil rights activist. Her writing touched millions, and she stood up for equality, justice, and human dignity throughout her life. The front of the coin, called the obverse, still features George Washington, but the portrait was updated to show a new angle of his face. It was designed by artist Laura Garden Fraser back in 1932 and finally used for this series. The back of the coin, the reverse, is where you'll find the beautiful image of Maya Angelou. She is shown with her arms lifted, as if in celebration, with a bird spreading its wings behind her and a rising sun. This design represents her spirit, creativity, and the powerful messages found in her poems, especially her famous work, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now, let's talk about the value and collectability of the 2022 P Quarter. The P Mint mark means it was made at the Philadelphia Mint, and millions were produced. Because of that, most of these coins are common and can still be found in your everyday change. If you have one that's been used and has somewhere on it, it's worth just 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. If your Maya Angelou quarter looks shiny, clean, and untouched, it might be considered uncirculated. Uncirculated coins are ones that were never used in everyday transactions and still look brand new. These coins can be worth between $1 and $5, depending on how perfect they are. Collectors use a special system to grade the condition of coins. The scale goes up to 70, and the closer a coin is to that perfect score, the more valuable it becomes. Coins in MS-67 or MS-68 condition are more desirable and can sell for a few dollars, while MS-69 or MS-70 examples can be even more impressive, but very rare. Now, let's not forget about proof coins. These are specially made coins with a shiny, mirror-like finish. They aren't made for regular use but are sold to collectors in sets. Proof coins are struck multiple times with polished dies, which gives them a sharp, clean look with lots of detail. If you have a proof version of the Maya Angelou quarter, it could be worth more. There's also a silver proof version. This one looks very similar to the regular quarter but is made from 99.9% silver. It's heavier, shinier, and definitely more valuable. A silver-proof quarter in near-perfect condition, such as PR69 DCAM, which stands for Proof 69 Deep Cameo, can be worth around $20 or even more, depending on the market. Keep in mind, these values can go up over time. As the American Women Quarters program continues, more people are starting to collect the full set. That means early coins in the series, like the Maya Angelou quarter, may become more desirable in the future. Some collectors also look for error coins in this series. While there haven't been as many major errors found on the Maya Angelou quarter, yet, it's always worth checking your coin for unusual features. Look closely for things like doubling in the letters or numbers, called a doubled die. Off-center strikes. Die cracks or chips. Missing details from worn-out dies. If you think you found something special, take a closer look with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You can also compare your coin to photos of known errors online or ask for help from coin collecting communities. In short, the 2022 Maya Angelou quarter is more than just change, it's a celebration of a powerful voice in American history. Whether you're collecting for fun, for profit, or just to learn more about the people honored on our coins, this one is a great place to start. Now, let's take a step back to 1973. While this quarter isn't as famous as the 1976 Bicentennial Quarter, the 1973 Washington Quarter still holds some hidden value, especially if you find one with a rare error. The basic design of this coin is the same one used for decades. On the front, or obverse, is a portrait of George Washington facing left, with the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year, 1973. The back, or reverse, shows an eagle with wings spread wide, sitting on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath it. This design was used from 1932 until 1998. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced quarters at 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your coin has no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. Denver minted coins have a small D on the front, and San Francisco coins have an S and were made for proof sets, mostly for collectors. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 346 million quarters in 1973, so finding a regular one without a mint mark is very common. In most cases, if your 1973 quarter has been used and has some wear, it's worth just 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1973 quarters have rare errors, and these are the ones collectors are willing to pay big money for. One of the most well-known and valuable errors for this year is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin, called a planchet, is not placed correctly into the coin stamping machine. As a result, the design ends up being printed off to one side, and part of the coin's surface is left blank. These errors are easy to spot and look quite different from normal coins. Depending on how far off-center the design is, the value of the coin can go up. If the design is just slightly off-center, maybe 5% or 10%, the coin might be worth around $20 to $50. But if it's 20% to 40% off-center, you could be looking at a coin worth $50 to $100. When the error is even more extreme, like 50% or more off-center, with large blank areas and the date still visible, the value can go up to $200 or more. The date being visible is very important for collectors because it helps them verify the year of the coin. An off-center coin without the date may still be valuable, but usually not as much. Some 1973 quarters also have other types of errors, like clipped planchets, which means a piece of the coin is missing due to a mistake during the cutting process. These can also be worth between $30 and $100, depending on the size and shape of the clip. Another rare mistake is when a quarter is struck on the wrong type of metal blank, like one meant for a dime or nickel. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare but can sell for hundreds of dollars. There are also die cracks or die chips, which happen when the stamping tool starts to wear out or break. This creates raised lines or lumps on the coin, and depending on how big or noticeable they are, the coin's value can go up. Even without errors, a 1973 quarter in perfect, uncirculated condition, called mint state, can be worth more than face value. A coin graded MS-65 or better could be worth $10 to $25, especially if it has a clean, shiny surface and no scratches or wear. These coins are usually found in old rolls, mint sets, or special collector's boxes. To check if your 1973 quarter might be valuable, look closely at both sides. Use a magnifying glass if you can, and check for signs of doubling, missing parts, or anything that looks strange. Weighing your coin can also help. A regular quarter should weigh around 5.67 grams. If it's much lighter or heavier, it could be an error coin. You can also compare your coin to photos online or visit a local coin dealer for help. While most 1973 Washington quarters are common, some with rare errors, especially off-center strikes, can be worth real money to collectors. Let's now talk about the 1971 Washington quarter, particularly the version without a mint mark. This coin might not stand out at first, but it has some interesting features and can be worth more than you think, especially if you find one in exceptional condition or with a rare error. The 1971 Washington quarter was part of the regular series of quarters minted from 1932 until 1998, showing George Washington's portrait on the front, the obverse, and an eagle on the back, the reverse. The 1971 quarter was produced in large numbers at 3 different mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. However, if you have a 1971 quarter with no mint mark, that means it was minted in Philadelphia, since coins made there during this time didn't have a mint mark. In 1971, the Philadelphia Mint produced a huge number of quarters, over 250 million. So, finding a standard, circulated 1971 no mint mark quarter is quite common, and in general, it would only be worth its face value of 25 cents unless it's in great condition. However, the 1971 no mint mark Washington quarter can still be valuable if it is in uncirculated condition. Uncirculated coins are those that have never been used in regular circulation and still look brand new. If you find one that looks shiny and detailed with no wear or scratches, it could be worth $2 to $5 or more, depending on how pristine it is. If it's graded as MS-65 or higher, it could fetch a higher price of $10 to $20. These are coins that collectors love because they look like they were just made and have that fresh mint luster. But what really excites collectors are the error coins. These mistakes happen during the minting process, and they can make a coin much more valuable. One of the most sought-after errors on the 1971 Washington quarter is the double die. This happens when the coin dies, the metal stamps used to strike the coin, are misaligned, causing the design to be stamped more than once. On a double die quarter, you'll notice that the lettering, like Liberty or In God We Trust, appears doubled, like a shadow effect. This type of error can increase the coin's value significantly, sometimes worth $100 or more depending on how noticeable the doubling is. Another common error is the off-center strike, where the design is not fully centered on the coin. This causes part of the coin to be blank. Depending on how off-center the strike is, these can be worth anywhere from $50 to $200 or more. The more extreme the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. Lastly, there are clipped planchet errors, which occur when the metal strip that's cut into coins isn't properly aligned. This results in part of the coin being missing. These errors can also make a 1971 quarter more valuable, often fetching between $30 and $100 or more, depending on the size of the clip. To summarize, while most 1971 no-mint Mark Washington quarters are not worth much more than face value, they can be valuable if found in excellent condition or with a rare error. Whether it's a double die, off-center strike, or clipped planchet, these coins can be worth hundreds of dollars if you find the right one. So always keep an eye on your quarters, you never know when you might find a hidden gem. Conclusion. So, there you have it, 5 ultra-rare and valuable US quarters that could be hiding in your coin jar or loose change. Whether it's a bicentennial quarter with a minting error or a modern coin featuring Maya Angelou, these coins offer a glimpse into the rich history and craftsmanship of US coinage. Remember, the value of a coin is largely determined by its condition and any unique features or errors it may have. If you think you found a rare coin, consider having it professionally graded to determine its true value. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.